Jay, you do.
We do. Okay.
You do.
So, I mean, it depends according to whom. And that's a pretty recent.
Ben, you can't be constantly talking about America as a Judeo-Christian nation and then be like, Jews are not considered white. Like, come on, dude. Come on, dude.
Country right now, 300.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Jubilee done did it again. They did the Charlie Kirk one, and now they done did it again. They did Ben Shapiro. Uh-oh. A lot of HasanAbi heads in this one. A lot of HasanAbi heads in this one. Okay? Buckle in, folks. I haven't seen this motherfucker in a minute, and ever since I said, I wonder what this motherfucker's up to, he's been up to no good. He has been up to no good, folks. Thoughts on Jubilee being inherently reactionary? Why do you pay it any mind? Because this video literally has 1.5 million views in 7 hours. And it will probably get like 10 million views. And people will watch it and people will go, epic debate content. I love it. Epic ownage from Ben Shapiro.
100,000 minors. We have no idea where they are.
Oh, that is nonsense.
That is not nonsense.
No, it is. They are not lost. They're released to their sponsors who have to go through background checks. You have no idea what you're talking about.
They don't.
You think 300,000 minors are lost in America? Are you crazy?
I'm saying that. Why, hello there. I'm Ben Shapiro, and I'm co-founder of the Daily Wire and host of the Ben Shapiro Show. And today, I'm surrounded by 25 Kamala Harris supporters. My first claim is Kamala Harris's attempts to put DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion at the center of her policies is destructive.
This is so fucking stupid. Like, really? That's the first thing you wanted to fucking debate? Pathetic. Deeply unserious. Okay? What a deeply unserious man this is. God, Republicans are so wild, dude. They got nothing going on. They are literally reveling in their own fucking unimaginable amounts of victories. They have dominated every state legislature at this point. They have. That's why they have to like make up new shit to be mad about, bro. I swear to God.
How's it going, dude?
Morning.
Where do I get one of those hats?
Oh, my boy made it for me.
Nice.
So, yeah, you know, first of all, we're standing on stolen indigenous Tongva land, right? This is...
Where do I begin? So, land acknowledgements are the hollowest, shallowest thing that you can do. I'm sorry. I'm sure that there's some indigenous people in this chat that will tell me that I'm wrong or something, but it is like peak radlib bullshit. Okay? That's number one. And I'll give you an example. Imagine 25 years from now, an Israeli debating whatever the Ben Shapiro of Israel is at that moment. And he starts off this by saying, we are having this debate on stolen Palestinian land, on top of what was once known as the Jubilee refugee camp. How does that make you feel? Does that right the wrongs of the past? Does that do anything? Because the reason why I'm using this as an example is because it's happening right now, so you can get a better understanding, a better sense of what the fuck's going on. Okay? Anyway, optically speaking, Ben is shocked by someone so liberalized that they are doing a land acknowledgement as soon as it started. I'm not gonna lie, I would have hit that red flag so fucking fast my arm would snap out of his socket. Like, my arm would have shot up so fucking fast. There would be, like, people would not have even seen me put it up. Like, they'd be like, what the fuck happened? Actually, I would have fucking blasted that shit faster when I saw the hat. This isn't a rad lib take. You are simply incorrect. As a black American who doesn't have immigrant lineage, I think it's important that there's historical accuracy. You are out of your depth. It's okay to be wrong. You're right. Okay, as a black American, let me ask you this question. Would you rather have reparations, or would you rather have someone, before every conversation starts with you, go, I acknowledge the historic wrongs that have occurred under chattel slavery. What do you think is better? Why are they mutually exclusive? It's mutually exclusive because one is done at the behest of not doing the other. No land back, just land acknowledgements. That's it. It's literally it. It's fake concern that is hyper individualized, demonstrated by radlibs to be like, I'm fucking woke. That's all it is. You don't get land back, you get land acknowledgements. You don't get reparations, you get an acknowledgement of. Does an acknowledgement precede action? Yeah, not in this situation, it does not. I'm not centering the wants and needs of my oppressor. The truth is important, and justice is a function of truth. Okay. Just saying.
Are you moving anytime soon?
No, but
Why?
the fact of the matter is I'm born and raised California. We're talking
Yeah, but
about
it's stolen land, so why don't you
diversity,
give it back?
equity, and vision. We should.
So why don't
We
you?
absolutely
You
should.
could do it today, right now.
Great.
So
We
do it.
should, but that's not my point here. The point is you're saying that diversity, equity, inclusion is destructive.
Yes.
Right. So when we look at this country,
Or you don't get the land back, but we'll name a helicopter after you. Except, yeah, but like natives do love that shit. Like, that is everything that I've seen. I know that there's the academic indigenous population, and then there's like the broader perspective of the indigenous population. And like, while the academic indigenous population might have an issue with like utilizing like former tribes that were ethnically cleansed, or their weapons as a in terms of like naming the American military's weapons, that from what I understand, the broader population fucking loves that shit. Okay. And what you hear, especially in a community like this one, is going to be very different than like it's also the same principle behind like using the term Indian rather than Native American. I don't do it because I'm white and I'm Turkish on top of that. So I'm not even like fucking, fully. I mean, I'm a Turkish American, but like most Native Americans I talk to are, they say Indian. I won't, because I think it's still, you got to talk to your indigenous followers more. Okay. I think that my indigenous followers are in the minority overall, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's the same as like land acknowledgements, though.
that is built off the backs of slavery and white supremacy taking the lead, building the roots and foundations of everything that you know and believe today, it's ironic to see a Black and Indian woman who's rising up to the occasion against society, pushing them down. And this isn't just the fact that they're Black and Indian and a woman. It's the fact that
Can you give me an
those
example of how society
demographics,
pushed Kamala Harris down, please?
the demographic of people is what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but you suggested that Kamala Harris is being pushed down by society.
I'm not suggesting that, no.
I mean, that's
So
Okay,
my
pause.
point is saying
I'm
that
sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
good to meet you. Whoa. Man.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to meet you. So my opening question to you would be, why is that a destructive thing? Why is that a bad thing when
Most Native American people do not feel comfortable with Indian because it's literally not what they are by definition. I will never make an argument to call Native Americans Indian. I don't do that anyway. I feel like some of you guys are Canadian as well, where it's different in Canada in terms of fake altruistic land acknowledgements, but also in terms of like government subsidies or even like recognizing or being more cognizant of the harm that was done, while also simultaneously still in many meaningful systemic ways doing that harm. Anyway, we're not going to have this conversation. You guys are right. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. Please stop yelling at me. This is a 2-hour video.
for a long time in this country, I feel personally that white men have had an advantage over some communities that have been discriminated against. So why would you say that that is a destructive thing and not, you know, making up for lost time?
Sure. So let me explain what I mean by diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the basic theory of diversity, equity, and inclusion is spelled out by people like Richard Delgado, who's sort of one of the founders of, for example, critical race theory, is that essentially disparities equal discrimination. That if you see any disparity between one group in the United States and another
Dude, that's not true. I'm an enrolled member, and when I'm doing rifle education, I'm Indian. But when I talk in front of a council, I'm First Nation. But in reality, NOT please, is liberal shit. See, when someone says First Nation, I'm like, that's a Canadian right there. That's someone living on occupied Canadian soil. Canadians say First Nation. Canadians say First Nation and also Indigenous. Guys, you misunderstood what I was saying, by the way. I wasn't saying that, like, I call Native Americans Indian or that you should say that or you should do that. That's not what I was saying at all. I explicitly am mentioning that I don't do that. I say Native American or I say Indigenous. I'm simply stating I'm in between Canadian soil and American occupied soil. I'm related to Canadians and American Ojibways. Anyway.
group in the United States, that is the result of some exterior discrimination. It is not the result of individuals within that group acting differently. It's not the result of cultural differences. It's not the result of aggregated differences within individuals within that group. And that, to me, is a failure of logic. It also is destructive in that it separates group from group, particularly in the United States, on the basis of race, which is not the best way of actually bringing Americans together or forming policy that is the best for all Americans.
Do you think there's room for nuance, perhaps, though? Like, yeah, maybe not everybody, but there certainly has been a large sect of people that has had it harder because of the color of their skin or their sexuality or their gender identity. Could you acknowledge that maybe there's, you know, a middle ground there where
I hate this. I don't care about this. Like, Kamala Harris' attempt to put DI at the center of her policies is destructive is so fucking stupid. She doesn't do that. As a matter of fact, it's one of the best things that she hasn't done. And DEI, in the way that Ben understands it or Ben uses it, is a substitute for like what it actually isn't anyway. Like, he wants to say identity politics. Just say identity politics, which Kamala Harris doesn't do anyway. I hate this argument. I hate this entire conversation. It's so fucking stupid. It's so unproductive. Okay. Yeah, her only DEI is she putting a Republican in her cabinet. Exactly. It's just like, I wanna even skip this topic, even though they spent 22 fucking minutes on it. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I'm certain that this will also be a false premise. Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible. Let's go. This is good. Now we're getting to the good shit. Fuck this DEI nonsense, okay? Dean does really good on it. Oh, I heard she ate, by the way. That's the HasanAbi head. She was at the fucking USC meetup.
Yeah, like a jackrabbit. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
I want to see what she says.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, I kind of want to shift the conversation about DEI a little bit away
Hasan,
from
that's what I
culture, 'cause
wanted to
don't know
say,
if
but my
that's
legs are
necessarily-
short and I couldn't reach the chair. No, these Jubilee videos are like almost entirely comprised of HasanAbi heads now. I don't know if it's because I watched too many fucking Jubilee videos and you guys were like, oh, I want to be on it. Okay. Or what happened, but like so many of you motherfuckers go on these videos now.
like a helpful conversation to have. And I really want to talk more about representation. So 1 in 5 Americans currently is Hispanic. This country, like it or not, is not a homogenous country. We are a very diverse country.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not think that our legislators should be representative of the overall population?
I don't see a way that you can have a quote unquote representative legislature with 435 members of Congress in a country of 340 million people, because you can divvy that up however you want. It's not by race. You could do it by sex. You could do it by gender. You could do it by sexual orientation. How exactly do you decide what is quote unquote the representative group? And also, I don't believe that individuals ought to be represented based.
Here's how you do it. Fucking abolish gerrymandering and stop redistricting. That's literally one of the easiest ways you could do that. Okay? Number one, why is it that black and brown people are always seemingly not in areas where they are statistically viable to make a change in terms of who they vote for? Why do they all get shoved into one fucking district and then the remainder is like packaged into multiple other districts where they cannot actually swing an election? Perhaps that's one of those ways that the, demographic representation does not play itself out in Congress. Now, of course, Ben knows that, right? Ben knows that already. He knows that shit. He is taking that shit for granted. This is something that I need you guys to understand. Ben is very good at taking advantage of the oppressive structures that we all take for granted. We don't even think about it, okay? That's it. That's how he does it. He can always point to, well, how difficult would this be? Hoping that the other person on the other side doesn't know enough to be like, well, one way that this doesn't play itself out is obviously through redistricting, which to Ben, he would immediately go, well, Democrats do it too. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Democrats shouldn't be able to do it either. You know what I mean?
On group identity. So, for example, I'm Jewish. Jews are actually overrepresented in Congress. I don't think that we ought to decide exactly how many people in Congress are Jewish based on the Jewish population of the country. I think that's actually a pretty silly way to do representation.
Well, we don't have to do it systematically, but fundamentally, there is an issue with the fact that we are not fully represented. Like, the entire population is not represented.
I mean,
we have
that's not
never
true. We
had a
vote.
black female president. I still have to pay taxes.
We've never had a
the
Jewish
whole
president. Who
concept is
cares?
no taxation without. We have had a white male president. We've had like 45 of them.
Whether Jews count as white or not has been sort of an object of debate for quite a while.
Actually, you do.
We do. Okay.
You do.
So, I mean, it depends according to whom, and that's a pretty recent.
Ben, you can't be constantly talking about America as a Judeo-Christian nation and then be like, Jews are not considered white. Like, come on, dude. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. What happened? America used to be a Christian nation. Now, everybody says it's a Judeo-Christian nation. No, you're white. I'm white. You're white. Get the fuck out of here.
Development. Okay, so
Basically, everyone. It's a religion.
Judaism.
Do
is
you
also
not
ethnicity.
agree that you were a white man?
I mean, I think that it depends on the context in which you're discussing.
That's a great question. She'd be like, can you honest to God say that you're a POC right now? That's a great question. Be like, Ben, can you tell us, are you a person of color?
it. Meaning
what
that-
are you, Ben? Are you not a white guy?
I mean, I'm a man of Jewish ethnicity, which is sometimes grouped with white and sometimes not. I mean, that's the more accurate way to put it. But
Oh my gosh, she put Ben on the back foot. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, okay. That's good. Oh, that's good.
when
What
we're
else would
talking
you be
about
grouped with?
with Jews who are
No, don't flag her. Don't fucking flag her. She's slaying.
which is an
But it's-
ethnicity. I mean,
So
yeah.
you're not white at all.
I mean, again, it depends who's doing the grouping and how. I've seen Jews grouped with white and Jews grouped with not white. Are we just pretending that doesn't exist? That's a reality. However, as far as your generalized point, which is that we are supposed to identify people by group identity, that if we don't have a black female president, somehow black females have not been represented. So Barack Obama was in no way representative of black females because he's not a female.
No,
He's
he
black.
was. He was representative,
So
but
he was
that's
half
the point.
representative. How do you do the math on this, and why?
You shouldn't do the math on it completely statistically, but the fact
You shouldn't
is
do the math on it at all. You should
clearly
treat people as individuals.
underrepresented.
You should treat people as individuals.
Well, if you don't even want Kamala Harris to attempt to create DEI initiatives in office, then there isn't even going to be a conversation about it.
I mean, I don't think there ought to be a conversation about why we ought to be represented by race or by sex. I think that we are each individual people with individual ideas, and if that person represents my ideas, I don't care what sex, race, or sexual orientation they are.
I mean,
Sorry, Vid, talking about vets and how no one cares about them as a vet. This is true. I wasn't even in combat, and even now I kind of feel shame to say I'm in the military. And there are definitely hogs in there, and I felt very outcasted being black and an avid viewer of you, lol. God damn, dude. My fucking fan channels work so goddamn fast is crazy. That's crazy. Like, I said that not even 5 hours ago. Okay? And there's plenty of other people like you in here. Also, I mean, it's fine. Don't be ashamed of your past experiences as long as you're, like I said, you are not who you used to be. Okay? That is crazy, dude. You know who works harder than the fucking American military? The HasanAbi Clips Industrial Complex. Okay? They are working harder than the goddamn Marine Corps, let me tell you. Okay? That's crazy. They were like, they cracked their knuckles and they waited for that shit to be over so they could fucking blast it.
to an extent, yes.
No,
but there
entirely.
is an issue with the lack of empathy in office. We need to be able to empathize and legislate for the people that are living in this country.
I was not
Do you
aware,
not believe that?
I was not aware that empathy is relegated to particular race solidarity.
No, but I mean, it's easier to be empathetic towards people whose experiences you can fundamentally understand based on your identity. Like, do you not believe that people have an inherent bias
So first of all, I'm
based
not
on
sure.
identity?
I mean, we can start with the empathy itself. I'm not sure that empathy is always the best basis for actual public policy, because when you have group solidarity and empathy based on group solidarity, you're going to attempt to actually benefit the group with whom you have solidarity. So that actually cuts against
but
generalized
that's like a
public
fundamental
policy.
thing that just exists, which is why
Wait, but like, Ben, once again, taking advantage of the fucking environment that like group solidarity is already occurring, and it's occurring for white men. But once again, that's just how things are. So if you're a conservative, you can always just point to how things are and then go, what are you going to do? It's common sense. The advantages are so fucking firmly on your side. If you want to do commentary on the conservative side, it's crazy. You could just like literally point to how things are and just go, it's good, and we need more of it. And if it's bad, it's because it's not going the way that it should be. We should do more of it. We should always go back to a time when it was good.
we need representation in government. Okay, cute. Thank you.
Wow, he got it this time. All right, nice. Good to see you. How are you doing?
Doing all right. How are you, Ben?
You know, it's been a
All right, liberal Spider-Man. Let's see what you got today. I hope he fucking cooks his ass, dude.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like an interesting setting being surrounded by 20 people that disagree with you.
I mean, the truth is I grew up in LA and then I went to law school in Cambridge. So,
So
I'm
you
a
have a lot
little
more
used to
than
it.
20.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you say he went to law school at Cambridge? Yeah, you went to Harvard, dog. Just say it. What's so embarrassing about that?
Anyways, let's talk about DEI. Do you think that Trump should have won 2016? I'll wrap it in. It's conceptually relevant. I'll demonstrate the relevance.
Okay, sounds good. By what measure? Do I think he did win or do I think he should have won?
Do you think he should have won?
I mean, yes, I'm happy that he won. If the question is, am I happy that he won? I'm happy that he won.
Okay. Well, I'd say that Trump won 2016 because
By the way, I did not vote for either candidate in 2016. That's a decision made in retrospect.
Awesome. So I think that Trump won 2016 because of a modality of DEI. Essentially, what I'd say is the Electoral College, right, strives for inclusion of smaller states with lower populations by overrepresenting them in the overall vote.
I love this argument so much. It's so dumb, but it very quickly gets to the heart of how fucking silly the DEI shit is. The Electoral College's DEI is the best. Was it him or was it the other white debate kid on TikTok that first cooked that shit up? When I heard it the first time, I was like, damn, that's you're chefing, okay? Excellent. I don't know which one of them came up with it, but great one. Great fucking bar, okay?
Like, you could correct me if I'm wrong, or the Sand fact checkers can. I'm pretty sure that over the last 25 to 30 years, Republicans have won the presidency given the Electoral College, not given the overall popular vote. So if you're against DEI, if you don't want inclusion on the basis of race, inclusion on the basis of gender, or even what you're saying earlier, we could even say inclusion on the basis of class, why do you want inclusion on the basis of population, rural areas, states,
We should actually use a better example. Why don't you just ask if I believe in the U.S. Senate? Right?
The U.S.
is a better
Senate, this would
example.
also apply to the U.S. Senate.
Right. Okay. So let's use the U.S. Senate because the U.S. Senate is actually even
It's the greatest deliberative body in the world.
more unrepresentative of the general population than the Electoral College, which is at least a rough approximation.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the U.S. Senate, we wouldn't care about states like Montana. It's like we don't. That's why it's a nuclear dump, okay? That's why the nuclear silos are there, okay? So that they could be the nuclear sponge. We don't. We literally don't. Don't act like you do. Shut the fuck up.
It'd just be funnier to hear you say that you shouldn't have voted for Trump in 2016. But we could talk about.
I mean, that's a different subject, but
Yeah.
I'm very happy that he won, even though I didn't vote for him. I mean, we can talk about Trump later.
Yeah.
We've already done a bit. Well, I'm sure we'll do more. As far as the idea that every elected body has to be elected based on population as opposed to based on the area of geographic distribution or the states that actually pre-existed the federal government. Okay, the way that the Constitution of the United States was created was as a contract between sovereign states, which is one of the reasons why, for example, you have a United States Senate as opposed to just a House of Representatives. So is that a form of DEI? That seems like a stretch to me.
What?
The kind of DEI that I'm talking about specifically would be separating human beings based on inherent characteristics, like, for example, race, as opposed to suggesting that the United States Senate, which is obviously
Oh, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it when you use the Electoral College. He's like, no, I want DEI to be what I think it is. Okay? I want DEI to be what I think it is. You can't make the argument about diversity, equity, and inclusion for anything else. It just means black people. That's why I love this line of argumentation. It directly fits the bill, and it's just like it's like a good thing to just throw in the face of Republicans because they immediately have to turn around and be like, "Well, I think it's just black people. I'm saying black people when I say DEI."
representative of the general population.
Well, seemingly my point is
somehow
this
bad.
is
That's
just
a check and balance, right?
Well, seemingly my point is that this is another modality of DEI. I've like no problem with you explaining to me, right, why the Senate or the Electoral College would be given the U.S. Constitution and like some contractual agreement that they had between the sovereign states. That's fine. But what I'd say is that your claim here would just imply that the Constitution upholds DEI within our electoral process.
Why are you ragging on what he sounds like? Disagree all day, but why shit on something he can't control? Because he sounds like a fucking nerd, okay? That's why. I'm having fun with it. Shut the fuck up, bitch. You sound like a fucking nerd, too. Excuse me, that's an ad hominem. Shut up, bitch. We're having fun with it. We're watching a fucking silly-ass Jubilee video, okay? He's a fucking ginormous piece of shit. You understand? Virtually every single thing that comes out of his mouth is bile. I'm sorry that it hurts your little fifis because Ben Shapiro might not hear you making a nerd voice when talking about him, but your friend who is a nerd will. Ginormous piece of shit. You understand? Virtually every single thing that comes out of his mouth is bile. I'm sorry that it hurts your little fifis because Ben Shapiro might not hear you making a nerd voice when talking about him, but your friend who is a nerd will. He's acting like you're making fun of a disability. Yeah.
Processes.
If your claim is
so,
that
do you think that the Constitution upholds DEI in the sense of including smaller states with less representative populations?
That is a true stretch of the meaning of DEI. But I get your point. I mean, if the idea is that the only thing that is not pure DEI in a democratic context would be sort of popularly represented votes, then I think you can make the case that basically you should get rid of every representative institution. We should go to a pure democracy because.
Well, I'm not making a case for what we should replace it with. I'm making the case that it would uphold DEI. We could talk about, right, what other systems should function in the case of the Electoral College or in the case of the Senate, but that's a completely different conversation than are these systems upholding DEI.
So again, I think that you're definitionally stretching DEI. If DEI is the basic idea that all disparities equal discrimination and must be rectified by government interventionism, which is sort of the definition, then stretching that to mean the Electoral College seems like you're going pretty far afield to defend.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's using the appropriate language when he says the Electoral College or the Senate, if you want to talk about that, is a modality of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is directly designed to create some sense of equity and inclusion from states that are significantly smaller. Okay? That's it. The problem here is that you either don't know what DEI means or you know exactly what it means, but you're using it in a different way because you're using it as a substitute for non-white, non-man, usually just a substitute for black. But in this case, you know, Ben Shapiro is an equal opportunity hater for the most part. So maybe he means like non-white male. That's it. It's the same exact reason why we never say that like Tim Walz is a DEI pig. We never said Joe Biden is a DEI pig, right? They are.
And a very broad concept as specifically badly applied.
Wait, 1 second. I don't think that we need to say that DEI is equivalent to disparities equal discrimination. We could just see that DEI is like a qualm for disparities in general, right? And what we apply here in this certain modality when we're talking about the Electoral College, when we're talking about the Senate, is we're trying to qualm the disparities of the lack of population in rural areas. We're trying to qualm the disparities of smaller states compared to larger states. And seemingly, you haven't really given me a response to this apart from calling it a stretch, but I do appreciate you for
no, I mean, it seems to me like the argument that you're making is that in order for there to be calm and sort of conciliation inside the United States, particular racial groups have to be given particular benefits. Okay, well, because that was the argument with regard to the states in the United States, right? When the Constitution was formed, the way that you came to an actual agreement in the Constitutional Convention is states were not going to sign on unless they got particular guarantees of the interests of those particular states, right? So if you're claiming that that's DEI, then the response that I would
Ben is literally saying, Ben just described the concept of equity and then said, and this is why it doesn't fucking fit the bill of DEI.
would have is right, because that's how you have to come to an agreement. So if you're going to make the parallel argument with regard to DEI in, for example, the racial context, you then have to make the case that the only way that you can have conciliation in the United States is for particular racial groups to be given specific racial benefits, and otherwise the country is going to split apart, which is an argument with which I generally disagree, even if I agreed with the way the Constitution was formed.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see like your parallel here, right? I think that DEI could exist in multiple modalities. My argument in a nutshell is nothing more than the fact that
he's saying DEI means give black people benefits is so slimy. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Ben keeps not saying the quiet part out loud, but pointing to it that DEI means black person. Okay. The fundamental disagreement here between Timothy Chalamet, woke Timothy Charlemagne and Ben Shapiro is that technically the Electoral College, something that Ben would defend, or the way that the Senate is structured, another thing that Ben would defend, is built on the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ben is constantly going back to the argument that like, nah, it just means black people. But without openly saying it like that, because he would openly say it like that, then you would realize like he's a racist piece of shit. He's a racist piece of shit who avoids certain realities, like you avoid the top of the hour ad break, you know, by subscribing. That is Tom Holland, woke Spider-Man. He could be Libethy Chalamet. I don't know. We're being anti-white racist right here. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. Punk Cushion, thank you for the 10 gifted subs.
We see disparities existing in rural areas compared to metropolitan areas. We see disparities existing in the size of a state and its overall population. And you're qualming these. And you're
Right.
Can't tell if you like this kid or not. No, I do like him. I like him. I think he's a little bit too libbed up. And I hope that he like doesn't fall full tilt debate lord. I mean, he is doing that right now, but I think that what's his take on Palestine? I don't know. I actually have no idea. Like I like him more than I like Harry Hasan for sure. Like there were a couple things that he said. There were a couple things that he said in that like previous one against Charlie Kirk where was it Charlie Kirk? Like where I didn't like fully, I didn't think that he took the best route when like talking about Kamala's immigration policies. But overall, I think he's a pretty solid debater, and it seems like his heart is in the right place. And when people constantly fucking have guys like this and they go, oh, dude, he follows this, and like, I don't give a shit, dude. Like, I don't even care if you're a fucking fan of Destiny. If you're like literally constantly in his fucking community, okay? As long as you present yourself in a solid fucking fashion against someone like Ben Shapiro and make him eat his fucking words, I'm gonna ride for you in that moment, okay? 1000%. Even including, but not limited to, what's that other guy? The guy that was on the Nirvana cover when he was a baby who fucking hates me. I would have given Bonercelli, Divorcelli a fucking shot if he actually didn't sit there and goddamn agree with Ben Shapiro for like most of the conversation that they had. So much so that even everyone's favorite centrist Lex Friedman was like, you guys agree on a lot, huh? That's crazy. Like that is, to me, that's unconscionable, okay? There's a couple things I don't like. There's a couple things I can't fucking stand. There's a couple things I don't like. One of those things is obviously like sitting around and just like fucking agreeing with Ben Shapiro. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable when Anna did it too. I don't think it was fucking appropriate at all. This man is a goddamn demon. That's fucked up. The other thing that's unacceptable also, I forget what I was going to say. I don't even have a fucking 3-minute. Oh, the other thing that I thought that he did that was like fucked up was when he went on the fucking cake stream to like debate Nicholas Fuentes. Like I don't think that was a good idea. There is no reason whatsoever, even though his platform is not that big overall and it's more beneficial for him. Even though his platform is not that big and it was somewhat beneficial for him to present himself in front of like a Nazi, I don't think that you should ever fucking sit across from a guy like Nick Fuentes and debate them. I just don't think that it's a smart way to go about things. Now, the difference there, of course, is that like if Nick Fuentes was like straight up in a prominent, elevated position, then that's a little different. Like has a massive fucking fan base and a massive audience and like tens of thousands of people who like hang on every word that he says, then you have to deal with that. But everything that you do leading up to that is basically giving him an additional platform, like having him over or going out and getting chicken and waffles with him and inviting him to your home. Like these are all things that you should never do, especially when he had no fucking motion, no juice whatsoever. Like when you do that, or when you fucking bring him on to like other podcasts, you put him to the fucking podcast circuit, like you are giving him clout, which is insane. I'm not saying that Dean did that, by the way. There's another person that did say that, or did do that.
Right, but the
whereas
DEI,
losing
DEI response to
resolving
that would
these,
not be
like through like an over representation.
And the DEI
and I
response-
understand that your argument is, but all my single-handed point here is that you would say, in some sense, that this is a reconciliation to introduce more, to introduce more,
Well,
not diversity,
I mean,
inclusion in the sense of a state to state in their population.
I mean,
so if you make the concession that this is DEI, would you say in the same sense that we shouldn't have
I don't make
other
the concession
DEI
that falls
practices?
within the definition of DEI that I've used. And if your claim is that I'm now in favor of, for example, subsidies to rural areas at the expense of urban areas, I'm not actually.
So do you
in
think
favor
that
of
DEI would only
fundamentally.
apply in the context of race?
No, it could apply in the context of class. It could apply.
Okay,
in the
if
context
it could
of
apply in the
identity,
context of race,
identity.
class, and identity, why can't it apply in the context of a state's population and their representation in our government?
I mean, if they were to receive special bennies at the expense of other members of the population,
They
of the
are.
state
They are.
population-
Wait, yeah. What do you mean? You're allocating political capital directly to a state that it does not. You're allocating political power to a state, not by the virtue of anything, but simply existing as a state. What the fuck does he mean? Wait, what does he mean by bennies? Is he a gonk? Oh, benefits. Isn't bennies like cyberpunk money? Oh, no, that was Eddie's. And One Piece currency is berries. So I guess no one has, there isn't. What the fuck did you say? Gonk. Is he a gonk or a choom? No choom, it's Eddie's. A lot of you are a bunch of corpo gonks, dude. You don't know what a real choom sounds like. I'm speaking cyberpunk speak. I'm going to have a Johnny Silverhand moment. All of the words that I'm using right now that you don't understand is from a famous video game called Cyberpunk 2077. It was a very it was a board game with a cult-like following that turned into a fantastic video game that I very much enjoyed, with a immersive, massive environment set in a future libertarian dystopia by CD Projekt Red. Okay, let's continue.
Yes, like Alabama or Arkansas are literally receiving special benefits insofar as a greater level of representation in our Senate and in electoral processes compared to people in California. I mean, for instance, that's my buddy Parker over there. He lives in California, right? And
I'm fully aware
I
of
live in
Electoral College and the
Colorado.
Senate work, dude.
So I literally have more representation person for person in the sense of Parker's vote compared to my vote, because individualistically speaking, I'm from a state that has more representation, and the same thing could be said for multiple other states across America, especially in the Senate. There's
having a
two
tough time
senators that
getting from-
represent me and everyone else in Colorado, and there's
dude,
two
I understand
senators
how
that
this
represent
works.
him and
My question
millions
is,
more people.
How are you
in
getting from point
California.
A, which is that California has 2 senators and Colorado has 2 senators, to point B, which is that we should have incredible racial carve-outs on the basis of group identity at the behest of the federal government? That is a very, very large stretch. And to
No, it's not. No, it's not. You are desperately running away from the principle when it suits your political project versus the way that you want to represent what DEI actually is, without actually ever admitting that when you say DEI, you mean black people. You are embarrassed to say it because you're at least too smart to understand a common HasanAbi principle. There is a level of permissible racism in America. Ben Shapiro sometimes goes above it, but usually stays under that boundary in an effort to make himself seem like an intellectual. Okay?
to get from point A to point B on the basis of the constitutional structure seems like you're going pretty far afield. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but, you know, the rubber band only goes so far.
That's the end of this claim.
That's great.
I appreciate you, man. Hopefully we can talk more.
I hear what you're saying.
The other thing with like debate guys is that they have like respect for a guy like Ben Shapiro. I think that I have too much hate in my heart for people that spread that kind of hate. You know what I mean?
Next claim is that Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible. What's going on, dude?
Meet you, man.
Hey, good to meet you. Okay, so I just want to clarify the claim because
sure.
okay, so the claim that I'm making about
What is up with this hat, my man? What's up with the dudes wearing like crazy shit to this?
Kamala Harris. Let's first say like what I believe her position to be. Okay, so she has not stated any abortion law that she would not veto. Right, so the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, for example, or late-term abortion bans, she would presumably veto that as President of the United States. That's the position that I'm taking in this particular prompt. Okay, so that is the position that I find morally indefensible. Okay, so again, I'm a very, very pro-life person, but I can see at least the sort of nuanced arguments that some people on the left try to make about abortion, even if I disagree with those arguments. The argument that she's making, which is effectively abortion until birth should be in no way regulated, I find that to be morally indefensible.
Bro, you say to yourself, there's a lot of HasanAbi heads. I don't know.
My understanding right now is that a majority of Democrats would not support abortion through birth. My understanding is the more popular position. I don't think any state lets you go through birth.
I don't think this man is a HasanAbi head. I think this is a fallen HasanAbi head. Maybe a former HasanAbi head.
Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe there's a couple.
California and New York, actually.
Okay, understood. But yeah, I think the key claim is basically, I think most Democrats would want abortion within the first few weeks prior to the development of my personal moral starting point of life is that the mind is the seat of consciousness. The brain is is where your self is. If you replace your heart, you have a robo heart, you're chilling. If you replace your brain, you're a different person, you're dead. And I think that when that brain first starts to develop, that's sort of where I see the beginning of life and where the fetus gets their first moral consideration. Would you agree that abortion before that point is tolerable?
No, I don't agree with that. But again, quick question, just as far as defining the positions.
Yeah.
So would you agree that late-term abortion is indefensible?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's not my position.
Late-term abortion. You have officially conceded the argument to your opponent. Number one, don't do this, okay? Do not do this. There's not a single state in the United States of America where you can get a third trimester abortion without some sort of medical necessity, okay? Every single state. You cannot have a fun abortion. A late-term abortion implies that someone is going out there and just getting an abortion for the fuck of it, okay? That's not how this works. Just letting you guys know, this is a rhetorical trick that Republicans apply all the time, okay? It's not a real problem, and it also should not be legislated. Now, the reason why it should not be legislated is because the overwhelming majority, if not every single person that gets a fucking third trimester abortion is actually looking to carry a pregnancy to term. It is already a very traumatic experience for the fucking carrier and the family because they thought that they were going to have a baby. They thought they start buying cribs for the child. They start buying clothes for the fucking child. So you're unnecessarily complicating this process by adding a legal hurdle on top of it. And it will cause the carrier to potentially die. It is a silly fucking distinction that people make. Okay? It's a Republican trap, okay? It is a Republican trap. That's it. When people say legal at any stage, what they actually still mean is that it is legal in the third trimester, but you still need to get some kind of medical, some kind of medical intervention, because you can't get an abortion at that point without like direct medical intervention. It has to still have some kind of medical necessity. A psychological trauma could be made as an argument. Anyway, where is it? Current legal status, waiting period, no mandatory waiting period, legal at any stage, Alaska does not require a minor to notify a parent. In September, Alaska Superior Court judge struck down the requirement that only licensed physicians provide abortions, meaning the procedure can now be legally performed by nurse practitioners. Why is it legal at all stages of pregnancy? Number of abortion clinics in the state decreased by 1%, going from state faced the risk of unintended pregnancy, abortion rights. Women from the state participated in marches supporting abortion rights, Stop the Bans movement. Yeah. If the woman really didn't want the baby, don't you think they would have aborted it earlier? Exactly. It is a fucking stupid argument. Why the fuck would someone carry a pregnancy to... Why the fuck would somebody carry a pregnancy to 6 months? The only way, the only hyper limited circumstances, like so unimaginably fucking marginal, is if someone found out that they were pregnant too late and they were not able to get an abortion earlier than the 6-month barrier. Okay? That's it. That is the only case. And even then, you can absolutely make an argument that this is to save the carrier. After all, abortions can still be deadly in the United States of America. As a matter of fact, much worse mortality rates than any other OECD nation. I think we're like in the bottom. Anyway. Child, yeah. Too fat to know they're pregnant? No, that's not how that goes, man. Not all pregnancies are the same fucking... Why don't Kamala say that instead of saying we hate third trimester abortions? Because people have a hard time describing this shit. For the record, it's really stupid. And it is a ridiculous... It's a ridiculous argument. It's a ridiculous argument to fucking present. They're just trying to find like something that sounds not so right. The entire process for the Republicans is to make it seem like women are being sluts and fucking around, and then they just like want to get a fucking abortion because they were just like, again, fucking around and being slutty, and they need to be punished by carrying a pregnancy to term. And they want to do it at the last second for fun. It's so stupid. It doesn't make sense. It literally is not a thing that happens. And adding an unnecessary legal hurdle in front of it will only prevent people who literally need to get that abortion. The overwhelming majority, if not like maybe there's like one person, okay, that was like, I want to get a fucking abortion for fun in the third trimester because I wanted to see what it's like to carry a pregnancy almost to term. There could be one person in the fucking history of the United States. That does not matter, okay? There are tens of thousands of fucking women that literally go through this complicated process all the way to the third trimester and then have to get a fucking medically necessary third trimester abortion, which is a tremendous medical intervention, by the way. It's basically like, you know, where you are chopping up the fucking mother a little bit and the fetus too. And it is a devastating process. So it's fucking ridiculous that these guys want to shut that off because they have invented a person that is going to go and do it for fun. Okay? Arizona is legal up to the 15th week of pregnancy. Patients must meet a physician at least 24 hours before the procedure, and a licensed physician must perform the procedure. Minors under the age of 18 must receive parental consent. Total abortion ban was passed in Arizona territory. That was a famous one. Anyway. Did you already react to the Ben Shapiro Jubilee video, my king? I'm currently in the process of reacting to it. I just wanted to briefly mention that the concept of third trimester abortions are no different than like any sort of abortion restriction at any other stage. Once people realize that it's fucking stupid, once people realize that framing is fucking stupid, you can have a better, more productive conversation.
Okay, so you actually agree with me on the prompt. Okay, so now we get into the broader abortion conversation. That's fine. I mean,
no worries.
That's totally cool. So yes, no.
Do you feel like a majority of Democrats support through like the moment before birth?
A majority of Democrats have not supported any abortion legislation on the federal level in my entire lifetime, nor do I suppose that they will. So if there were to be a consensus 15-week abortion ban, for example, which is about the status in Europe, I would assume that virtually all Democrats would vote against that 15-week abortion ban.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, you know, I may agree with your more moderate position, or at least use that as a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
That is certainly not where the Democratic Party historically has been, nor is it where the Democratic Party is right now.
Awesome, understood. And just to understand where you begin your moral consideration for a fetus?
Where I consider
Yeah.
No, this guy's not a HasanAbi head. He's just trying to have a fucking philosophical conversation with Ben. There ain't no fucking way, dude. It's a dumb, unproductive way to talk to a charlatan. Okay? Ben Shapiro is not a serious person. Ben Shapiro is literally a professional debater. Okay? His job is to package his ideas in as short of a period of time as possible. You're never going to be able to have this long, convoluted conversation about the morality or whatever. Even though Ben presented the argument as Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible, don't concede to the framing of your opponent ever.
At conception.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I believe in life, that life begins at conception. You now have a human being with potential, not a potential human being. And then the question is exactly what the moral value of that human being is. Once you acknowledge that there is, in fact, a countervailing interest to, for example, a woman's quote unquote right to choose, once you acknowledge there's an independent interest.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, Ben.
Hasan, why did you wipe your Discord? I was having fun hating on Jews. That's great, man. I like that the mindset of these fucking delusional losers is so Republican, like genuinely, that they cannot find a problem, so they invent it on their own. This is no different than Steven Crowder being like, oh, trans people are competing in athletic competitions to exclusively defeat women by faking being trans. And then because they can't fucking find a single person that's doing that, they become that person. I like that that's what you're doing. That like you made up a story and now you're like, well, why can't I be the fucking guy? Are you admitting to Brigade to introduce anti-Semitism into our community? The answer is yes. That is precisely what that person was doing. But they're so fucking stupid that they think that this is somehow a solid way to do it.
You made it. You're good. You can relax.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Hello. Nice to meet you. Oh wow, you look better in person. Okay, so
That's very sweet of you.
No, don't do that.
I don't often get that, so thank you.
Okay, it's fine. But yeah, how do you define abortion really quickly?
Abortion would be the forcible termination of an unborn human life.
Yes, but like, why do you hold that definition? Like, would you not assume like something like a C-section would be considered an abortion?
No, because the baby is born alive. So how would that be an abortion?
What does the definition of abortion have to include the death of a fetus?
Because that's literally the definition of abortion.
It literally isn't though. Where are you getting this definition from?
Where are you getting your definition from?
Let's go to like what do you like in like Mayo Clinic, like any fucking like hospital you've ever gone to before?
It's not a ha moment. She's not wrong. It's just like abortion is like, I guess it doesn't really matter, but like in the medical sense, what she's saying is not entirely incorrect, but it doesn't fucking matter. It's like being like, well, anti-Semitism, I'll have you know, Arabs are Semites. It's a Semitic language. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's a semantics argument that I think is not the best avenue of approach, unless she's going to use that as a jump off point for a broader point that she's going to make.
A C-section ends with the birth of the child.
Right, but
I know,
but abortion,
both I and all three of my siblings were born via
generally.
C-section.
Yeah, I understand this.
I'm here. I'm talking to you.
I know, baby.
Thus I was not aborted.
I understand this, but like yes, but like no. Well, yes, but like no. But no. You could simply say that abortion is simply the ending of a pregnancy, right?
Did you really nuke your whole Discord server? No. Also, I have no control over my own Discord anyway. I have no fucking idea If you think that I have the capacity to fucking nuke an entire Discord server, I would have fucking nuked it a long ass time ago. What is happening? What is this Discord non? Is this a new talking point? Is that what's going on? This is what we've moved on to. I like that because you can't find anything that isn't fucking clip chimped into oblivion that I have said that I personally server, I would have fucking nuked it a long ass time ago. What is happening? What is this Discord non? Is this a new talking point? Is that what's going on? This is what we've moved on to. I like that because you can't find anything that isn't fucking clip chimped into oblivion that I have said that I personally believe that you have issue with, that we have now decided we're going to move on from that to random people are being anti-Semitic to me online on Twitter. And even if they don't fucking follow Hasan, it still doesn't matter. It's still his fault. Good luck, dude. I'm sure you will be able to find a fucking goalpost that you're going to arrive at, that you don't have to fucking move on. Okay? That you don't have to fucking motorize as much.
So the ending of a pregnancy outside of the natural birth of a fetus. So I don't see that. I don't see why you would say that like it would have to end in the death of a fetus, which is why I'm pro-abortion on 9 months, right? Because say if a woman is not able to pass a fetus in the natural way, we could have these other abortion processes that would say like, okay, like she needs some type of induction that doesn't include the actual natural expulsion of a fetus. But it doesn't always end in the death of a fetus. So I don't see how you could say that Kamala Harris' stance is immoral in this sense.
I just don't understand how you're removing the death of the fetus from the equation.
Yeah, if your baby dies inside of you in a miscarriage, you still have to get an abortion. Abortions are a medically induced miscarriage. If your baby dies inside of you, you have to get an abortion to end the pregnancy, even though the baby's already dead.
About abortion. That's literally the entire moral issue. You and I would not even be arguing if we were talking about C-sections or about natural birth.
But it seems like at its core, though, we disagree on what the inherent definition of abortion
then
is.
You could leave away. I mean, we could very easily solve this. Let's just not talk about the word abortion. Let's talk about the forcible termination of a baby.
Okay. So then, what do you value in the fetus then?
The life of the fetus.
Okay. So then, when is this? You said it begins at conception.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because that is
okay. This has been two debates, like two debaters so far, and I feel like they haven't been able to. They really think you have a. They really think you know how to do anything in your Discord. Okay, why are you guys making fun of me? Yeah, I don't know how to do it. Okay, suck my dick. Shut up, bitch.
It's literally the biological definition of when an independent life begins.
But like, why does it have moral value?
It has moral value because
we wipe the Discord every year to keep things manageable. It's also funny they keep saying we're anti-Semitic in this Discord when we literally nuke their account from the server as soon as someone says anything anti-Semitic. Yeah, I know. It's not something that is acceptable in this fucking community. It never has been, and it never will be. You can fucking cry about it all day, every day. Okay, suck my fucking dick.
Because that's literally the biological definition of when a human life begins.
Right, but like, why does that have moral value though?
Okay, why does any life have moral value?
I would value sentience.
But why?
Right, because
based on what?
This is simply what we value, like you and I value. Like, is it okay to like unplug like a brain dead patient, for example?
I mean, the question is whether it's okay to unplug a brain dead patient. Actually, quite a controversial one in sort of religious circles.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as why, I'm just wondering if somebody's in a coma and you know they're going to wake up. Do you have the right to unplug them?
Well, coma's not brain dead though. We know that there's future sentience there. Like it would be like a matter of like a conjunct of like past, future. Like past, present, or future sentience. But like a person in a coma has.
I agree. And guess what? Fetuses also have guaranteed future sentience.
Well, no, because you're only valuing.
Oh my God! Why are we doing this? Guys, you can literally be fucking pro-life in your own mind and still be pro-choice. Okay. Why? One must ask the question, why? Many Americans are. How is that possible? It's because being pro-choice is saying that the government should not interfere in this medical intervention. That should be kept between a patient and their medical professional. What the fuck is this conversation? You might have a disagreement with people taking diabetes medication. That doesn't make any sense. If you were to fucking run around and be like, I'm sorry, I think if you have diabetes, you should die. You should not be able to get insulin because I don't feel like it, because I feel like you made personal choices that caused you to get diabetes later on because you ate too much or some shit. Not talking about fucking diabetes that you get from a child, from childbirth, but like diabetes that you got later on in your life. So you have to fucking die now because I feel like you made this mistake. That's a fucking idiotic argument to make. That is the argument that they keep making for abortion. That's it. That's it. That is the only thing you need to talk about. How can we regulate this? Okay? There is a fucking reason why this is such a deeply unpopular thing in the United States of America after the Supreme Court, with the Trump appointments, decided to fucking strike down Roe v. Wade after lying about it. Okay? After saying that it was a super precedent, that they would never touch it. Okay? Oh... The morality of the fetus or the sentience has no bearing in this conversation, okay?
Maybe one half of the conjunct. That's not, right? So it would be past, present, or
now
future.
You're changing the topic. I mean, we started with what's the value of the fetus.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Whoa! Like, I don't even think you should do the violinist problem, okay? I don't even think you should do the violinist problem. There is no reason to have long, convoluted philosophical arguments, especially with the likes of Ben Shapiro. Okay? No, you shouldn't even make the violinist argument. Okay? You shouldn't. Because it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's like you are ridding your body of a parasite. You're going to, optically speaking, people are not going to like the argument that you're making if you start referring to a fetus as a parasite. The violinist problem is... the violinist argument is that if there is a, what was it, like a fucking world famous violinist that one day you wake up and a world famous violinist is like strapped to your fucking body and, you know, they did this without telling you. And now the violinist is on life support and can't fucking survive unless they are, if you rip the fucking cord, the violinist dies, okay? But you didn't consent to having the violinist be attached to your body. You didn't know that the violinist was attached to your body, and now you can't do things that you want to do because the violinist is attached to your fucking body. The dude who uses that on destroys him, in my opinion. Okay. Spoiler alert, Ben uses this example. Yeah, it's a famous thought experiment, okay? Imagine waking up in a bed, disoriented, bleary-eyed, and confused. You can't remember how you got there. The bed you're in doesn't feel familiar. As soon as you get a sense of your surroundings, you notice a bunch of medical equipment around. You notice plugs and tubes coming out of your body. You realize you're back-to-back with another person. A glimpse in the mirror tells you the person you're attached to is a world-famous violinist, one with a fatal kidney ailment. And now you start to realize what's happened. Last night you were invited to guest of honor at an event hosted by the Society of Music Lovers. During the event, they told you about this violinist whose prodigious talent would be taken from the world too soon if they couldn't find a way to fix him. It looks like, based on the medical records strewn around the room, the Society of Music Lovers have been scouring the globe for someone whose blood type and genetic markers are a match with a violinist. A doctor enters the room looking distressed. She informs you the Society of Music Lovers drugged and kidnapped you and had your circulatory system hooked up to the violinist. Do you have the right to unplug? The answer is yes, but I just still think it's a fucking long and convoluted conversation to have with the likes of Ben Shapiro, especially because the morality of abortion is completely negligible in this situation. The sentience, what it means to be, what stage are we considering a life to be life? All of those conversations are completely irrelevant, okay? Autonomy rules over all. And on top of that, when we're writing legislation or when we're arguing that certain sets of standards should be kept the way it is, you don't have to make these conversations happen. You don't have to have these long, convoluted philosophical arguments. You want to know why? Because in practice, legislation is not always going to be perfect. But the goal of legislation, the goal of rules, is to ensure the maximum outcome of harm reduction. Okay? when you start making rules about like what kind of abortion should be stopped, you all of a sudden, and I gave you this example in the fucking third trimester situation, you all of a sudden start creating unnecessary complications that end up hurting real existing alive people. Okay? And that's unacceptable. It's supposed to be completely unacceptable. Yeah, the one I always use is if a hospital's on fire, would you rather save a week-old baby or a freezer full of fertilized eggs? But that's also an intellectual trapping. The reason why I say that is because you look like a fucking idiot if you say the fertilized eggs. That's the only reason why you ever bring that up. It's a debate lord technique that I also apply, because technically your goal in that situation is to cause the other person to come across like a fucking weirdo. If they say fertilized eggs, then they're a fucking weirdo. Most people are going to look at that and be like, you're a weirdo. No one would do that. That's the reason why you apply that argument.
You know what? Just for, honestly, God, just for that,
That's the thing. They view potential humans the same as actual humans. No, they don't. That's the entire point of this conversation. And that's precisely the reason why they make medical exceptions in the cases of incestuous rape or in the cases of rape in general. Even though technically that's a bullshit fucking exception anyway, because the legal process to figure out if rape even fucking occurred or not, already pretty fucked up with our massive backlog of untested rape kits, is going to greatly be longer than the fucking carrying the pregnancy to term to begin with. So it's bullshit. All of it is fucking bullshit. Okay? It's bullshit. That's why you cannot fucking legislate this stuff. You cannot restrict this stuff. Anyway.
Forfeit. That's like some serious efforting right there. Well done.
I'll take
really well
it.
done.
Thank you. Yeah. So on the topic of abortion, I think we have a big focus on the moral aspects of abortion.
They say they view them the same, but they genuinely don't. That's how you that's how that argument catches them off guard. Yes, exactly. The fertilized eggs versus the baby argument is to expose that you don't fucking believe that it's murder and a life is a life. Okay? You don't actually believe fertilized eggs are a life. That's it. If you did, you would not have any medical exemptions. You would not allow any abortions to happen, even if it was a rape child, even if it was a child that was giving birth because they were raped as a child. Okay? You wouldn't. Technically, Alabama and other states that have like no exceptions whatsoever are actually more honest about their fucking barbarity. Okay?
Abortion, but I do think we should talk about the legal aspects of life, because when a baby is born, two things happen: birth certificate, social security card. When there are a fetus, when it's like cells in the body, you don't get the birth certificate, you don't get a social security card because it's not alive, it's not born yet. Therefore, when it comes to like the moral repercussions of having abortion, I feel like that's very different than legally, because if a cluster of cells in a woman was equivalent to a baby, I should be able to have tax deductions on that kid. I should be able to have child care from the government. I should be able to have child support from the father. But since like the clusters of cells is in fact not a baby, I feel like morally, you can say whatever, but legally,
morality is a trick in this situation. Ben is saying morality because it's a trick. If you want to use morally indefensible, if you want to use the premise that he set up, don't talk about the morality of the fetus, but talk about the morality of the harm, the much larger harm that is being conducted here when you enforce this insane restriction upon an entire population of people.
the clusters of cells is not like
so sort
alive.
of hiding behind the legal positivist position, I think, to shield against the morality.
Yeah, hiding behind the legal positive disposition. Shut the fuck up. What do you mean? That's what you're talking about, okay? That is what you're talking about. It's morally indefensible is just seasoning that you're adding to the conversation.
Here is a problem, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So when it comes to, first of all, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm perfectly happy to have people pay paternity for children that are currently in utero. Like that's fine with me. In fact, I think that'd be quite good. I think it would incentivize fathers to stay with the mothers and actually be more responsible. But if we're talking about legal status, there are plenty of people in the United States, for example, who don't have legal status right now, who don't have a social security card, for example, in the United States. Obviously, we can't kill them. They're legal immigrants. We shouldn't murder them. There are lots of people in the legal status does not, in fact, equate to moral status in any sense of the term. I mean, that it's true, for example, that children can't vote and don't actually have control over any of their.
Oh, okay. Just the only question you have to ask is like, do you believe life begins at conception? He's going to say yes. Then you're going to say, okay, that's the reason why you want abortions, correct? He's going to say yes, because all abortions are murder. He's going to say yes. Then you're going to say, do you not believe that there should be exceptions for rape, incestuous rape, and the like? Would you force a 12-year-old, would you force your own daughter to carry a pregnancy to term by force, even if it was a product of incestuous rape? If he says yes, he looks like a fucking clown ass anyway. You basically optically won the argument. Okay? You basically optically won the argument. Then you can start talking about how fucking insane that is. Charlie Kirk did say yes to that. I remember. Okay? I remember. Yes, Charlie Kirk, they walked Charlie Kirk step by step through this process, to which he responded with yes, yes, and yes. Okay? Then you can basically say that is unconscionable and unimaginable cruelty that you are subjecting a 12-year-old to. You should have your child separated from you by Child Protective Services for the crime of forcing them to carry a pregnancy to term. Oftentimes, a procedure that is so devastating that your child might not even survive. So the argument here is insanely stupid. You would rather kill your 12-year-old child who was a victim of rape in order to maintain your supposed quote-unquote moral integrity than, engage in this life-saving medical intervention. So that's the fucking stupid argument. Also, the other argument for Ben that you can make is Judaism, which is ironic because Ben is Jewish. Judaism does not have the same restrictions on abortion that like the false interpretation under Christianity does. So there's also that aspect of the conversation. It's literally permissible under Judaism.
Their decision making, right? I have 4 kids of my own and I control their decision making because they're very small. Okay, that doesn't mean that I get to kill them. So the idea of legal status, thus being the basis of a moral status, is putting the cart before the horse. The truth is that it's because things have a moral status that we give them a legal status, and obviously you can see that state by state, right? For example, even in the state of California, they had something called Lacey's Law for a while. I think it's still applicable, where if somebody killed a pregnant woman, that could be treated as a double homicide in criminal law. Okay, that sort of stuff applies all over the United States. So using the legal as a substitute to sort of evade the moral question ignores the fact that people make law in the states based on what their moral perception of the issue is. The law follows.
There's a much greater moral harm that you are subjecting millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of existing, living, breathing Americans in an effort to abide by a standard that your religion does not actually have. You're doing this for Christianity. That's number one. Okay, because you're a cuck. And 2, this standard is not even one that anyone actually holds on to personally. Okay? It's so stupid. Yeah, he's a massive Christ cuck.
Perception, not the other way around.
Yes, I agree, but I think there is a problem with the moral perception, especially when you consider that morality varies all across America. It's not uniform anywhere. And that's a big problem, especially when you see in the South when they're having like 6-week abortion bans, which is detrimental to women's health. Because as we see in Georgia right now, there were 2 women who were pregnant who went to a hospital, get health care, and they were denied that care because there was confusion surrounding abortion laws. That's why I focus more so on the legality aspect of it, because that's something that's uniform.
That's good.
Something
That's
that
a good
can be
argument.
known.
It isn't uniform though, right? I mean, it does vary state to state. I mean, as you yourself just acknowledged.
True, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. Before, there was a very famous Supreme Court decision that made it so that there was at least like a bottom that you couldn't go under, you know? kind of why we're having this conversation right now, Ben. Because it was overturned. I don't know.
So, you know, when it comes to sort of we can get into the specifics of those particular Georgia cases. One of them particularly has been relatively badly covered. It's about a woman who took basically both doses of the abortion medication. She took it without the supervision of a doctor. She then experienced essentially sepsis, and she went to the hospital late. And then under no interpretation, by this point, she had twins. Both of the fetuses were unfortunately dead by this point, so there actually was no legal problem with performing a DNC at that time, and the hospital misinterpreted the law. You know, but without getting into more details about that particular case, the real question when it comes to abortion is, was, and always will be how we weigh two separate considerations. One is the moral value of the life of the fetus, and the second is the woman's right to choose. The problem is that these are sort of mutually exclusive, meaning that I don't have a right to choose about your life, right? About whether I get to kill you or not, or about the children that I have who are already born. And so the right to choose is obviated by the acknowledgement of a moral status on the part of the child, and vice versa. Right? If you're willing to say that the child has no moral status whatever, then there really is no problem with abortion. The big moral problem I have with the sort of Kamala Harris position and the position that I have. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
I think I got the judges over here.
All right.
Hey, nice to meet you, man.
Plus, I'll see you again later, dude. All right. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Hey,
to meet
Cam. Hey, appreciate you being here and having an open discussion.
Yeah, you bet. It's fun.
Let's say that just hypothetically, right? Baby's born. Mm-hmm. Baby, mama can't.
It's me, Olalade in LA. What is happening? Are you in the video? Is that what it is? Why do you keep saying in LA, Koreatown?
Feed the baby. She's not breastfeeding. Baby dies. Morally, do you feel like that would be better than if the baby would have just been like aborted before it was born?
I mean, I'm not sure that there's any. I mean, I think that it's significantly worse to purposefully kill a child rather than accidentally or through circumstances kill a child.
Not accidentally, right? She cannot.
She didn't purposefully kill the child.
She can't afford it, right?
I mean,
she can't afford to have the baby. And so you're saying that Kamala Harris is extreme, but your stance is that women are being forced to have children, even if they decide that for whatever reason. I don't care. I don't care.
Why
but
don't
for whatever
care? Why
reason,
don't you care? Because you give me a very specific example.
Because it's not between me.
I don't like this argument either. Like, it's like almost like a pro-eugenics argument for abortion. I think that you're unnecessarily conceding to something that most people will not look fondly at. You know what I mean? It's just, what? I'm not going to rape you, I promise. What the fuck? Okay. Olalade in LA and Koreatown is fucking insane. All right. What the fuck is going on, dude?
Because it is not between me.
Right, but
it is between that mom, her health, her relationship with whoever she believes in. It is not on me.
Here's sort of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're extrapolating from a very emotionally laden example
Sure.
to everything. And I'm wondering how you're doing that. So you give me a case in which you have a woman who, for whatever reason, literally cannot feed her child. For some reason, adoption's not available. There are no food stamps. There's literally nothing. She's in a desert by herself, and the baby.
What do you say to people who say they're pro-life because their friend almost got aborted, so they wouldn't exist if their mother got an abortion? What? What an insane fucking question. That has nothing to do with like forcing women to carry pregnancy as a term. Great, man. Like, glad that your fucking friend is alive. Like, what? That's what 14-year-olds say? Is it? I have not heard that at all. I'm an abortion survivor. Technically, I'm an abortion survivor. My mother almost had to get an abortion. When my mom and dad were in England, the fucking local healthcare provider literally was like, yeah, your baby's gonna fucking die. Yeah. And you know what I think about that? If they would have aborted me at the time, who gives a shit? You know, I wouldn't be alive. Okay, well, whatever. I'm pro-life now, sorry. Man, that's so dumb. This is a dumb argument. Okay, yeah, the NHS almost killed me. If you were born British, would you have preferred to get aborted? Yes.
Baby's going to die. Is that abortion equivalent to a woman who decides to, you know, because she doesn't want the baby for economic reasons or because it's going to crimp her lifestyle, like whatever, you said you don't care about the reason at all. That's your words, not mine. So she's 15 weeks pregnant. She wants to kill it. That's the same? Why?
You're asking me why it's the same. I'm asking you why isn't it the same? Why is a baby who
I think it's pretty self-evidently the same,
who
not the same.
can't be born say that if she doesn't want that, if she says that I can't economically afford this child, that's like somebody going and saying, I can't economically afford this car, and the car salesperson still taking them on a test drive. Like, what's the point if they've already told you that they are not going to be able to economically afford it unless you give them, like you said, okay, what about abortion? Well, there's how many people in foster care that aren't being adopted right now today? All right,
should we kill them or what?
I'm not saying we should kill them. I'm just saying that should we wait at least until
would have been better
all
if they were
those
dead?
people. You tell me.
No, you tell me. You're the one who's
If
suggesting
those people,
that's a matter of moral apathy, whether those kids were born or not. I don't think so.
So if kids are in foster care and not being treated well, they're being abused. They're not being fed.
That is a
horrific
problem, yes.
They're being locked.
Oh my God, where is this argument going? I have to skip it. I'm skipping this.
Is that well, okay, we're gonna take this chair. Look at that.
Hey, Ben.
Like a bro, my friend. All right.
How's it going?
Let's break open
first
a beer or
question,
something.
can men get pregnant?
Men cannot get pregnant.
Okay, awesome. So
definitionally.
Definitionally, okay. Do men experience SA? Sexual assault?
Sure.
TikTok immediately.
Got it. What about the existence of trans men?
What about the existence? Do you mean women who believe that they are men? What are we talking about here? Women experiencing gender dysphoria?
So my other question is, do you benefit from white supremacy in any way, shape, or form?
What?
I'm going to need more specifics on what you mean by white supremacy.
Here, let me give it to you, Ben.
Sure, please.
So I'm a transgender man.
Okay.
I've experienced SA.
Okay.
And abortion rights affect me directly. So if we're talking about the American dream that you live, why don't I have access to that?
He's cooking
because
them.
There's no legislation, in the history of America, that legislates a man's body. So why does mine have to be legislated? I've got a vagina.
I'm not interested in.
Yo, dude, trans men are the best. They just break conservative brains so hard. They're like, I think transphobes are so lasered in on trans women that they forget that like trans men even exist, right? So when that reality hits them right in the fucking face, they're like, what? He just short circuited. He called him bro. He probably regrets it now. Exactly. Watch Ben try to desperately misgender this trans man after correctly gendering him. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Wonderful stuff. I didn't know where he was going with that argument, with the whole, like, do you benefit from white supremacy or any of that? But Mr. We Can Always Tell. Oh, that's so good.
What your genitalia are.
Clearly you are. I mean, it's all over everything you make, buddy. I'm sorry. I hate to say it to you, but
I think you can read on my face that I radically am not. I think you can read on my face that I radically am not. When we're talking.
He's like, I'm grossed out by you, I promise.
Talking about abortion.
No, I don't. I mean, you can present it here, but in most of the content that you have, you attack my community constantly. And you don't even realize guys like me exist who actually share a lot of similarities to you and everything, because I'm a married man of 20 years. I've got
I
a wife.
recognize that you exist. I disagree with your claim that you are a male.
So if I was sexually assaulted, right, and I didn't have access to that abortion care, do you believe that I should have carried that child to term because I was sexually assaulted?
I mean,
no, I just want to make sure that that's what you believe. Because as a transgender man, I have seen your side of the entire political debate, never ever having the conversation of what an American freedom is. Because why am I not allowed to live my American freedom as a man? You know, I mean, you get your choice as a man to live and free and all that.
You're really moving around terminology very wildly here.
And so, no, he's not. No, he's not. The problem for you, Ben, is that you have a duty to present yourself as a transphobic person who firmly has a commitment to misgendering trans people that are in your vicinity. But the problem is because gender is demonstrably expressive, you are having a hard time